Good afternoon, gamers, and welcome to a matinee episode of Games with Dave. Today, I am joined by someone I'm very excited to speak with, a guest that I've had to postpone, I think, twice on due to being ill. My friend Gavriel, and I'm sorry, I didn't ask how to say her last name. Is it Quiroga?
Yes, that's
All right,
correct. Yeah.
so I got it right. So Gavriel is a game designer and artist who is also known to like to play a little bit of casual Commander with Magic the Gathering. So welcome to the show, my friend. I'm so excited to finally have you on.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here. Very honored. Thank you, Dave. And hello, everybody.
So one of the first questions that popped into my head with you, creatively, what comes first, making the worlds, or do you have art that inspires you to create the worlds?
Oh, wow. We started strongly.
Yeah, we're just going right into it first. It was the first talking point that I had on there. I'm kind of doing everything backwards today.
I think that depends on the person and on the circumstances. Maybe something triggers an idea. Maybe it's a movie. Maybe it's a piece of music. Maybe it's a book. And after that, sometimes you do some research and try to figure out what kind of games try to tackle that idea. It comes and goes and depends on the circumstances to me. But yeah, I think that the visual aspects are a very important part of the creative developing of a game. But it's like a bit like asking the chicken and the egg what comes first.
That's funny because as I was writing that question, that's what popped into my head. I feel like I'm asking him what came first, the chicken or the egg, but I'm gonna
It can be
ask
either
him.
way, of course.
My buddy Jeremy Schumann, I don't know if you know him, he's known as Father Goose, is in the chat. He's excited for one to be able to join us live. He's usually
Hello,
working
Father
on
Goose.
something. And he says he has and loves Hell Knight, and he says he needs to get the rest of your content and that he'd love to work with you on a project at some point in the future.
Oh, great. Yes, let's talk about it.
So yeah, I will get you to, I'll share the info and link you two up after the show.
Did he manage to read Hell Knight? Because it's a mess.
Oh, it's not a mess.
An ordeal.
That is a beautiful book. So yeah, he'll chime in a minute here. There's always this delay between the chat and everything. So, so the question I probably should have started out with first was, what got you into gaming as a little guy?
I think that I started with fantasy, reading comics when I was very young with my father. The Argentine comic industry here it was a very big thing in the 80s, back in the 80s. It was mainly underground comics, the subway, for people to read on the subway. So it was very big, and it was very closely connected to Metal Harland and the heavy metal comics.
Nice.
So it was the Argentine equivalent of that. It was a very strong industry, and there was a lot of demand for that. And that I think that stirred my imagination to be really hooked on fantasy and science fiction. And eventually I found out about RPGs when I was about 13 or 14 years old with my schoolmates. And we started playing with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons second edition. Yeah, the player's manual.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. Yeah, we didn't know what it was. We didn't have any guide or any godfather to teach us how to play it. So at the beginnings, it was very difficult, but we somehow managed to do it. And we were really obsessed about it. It was like everyone was going out and going to the discos and dancing, and we were like playing Fridays and Saturdays. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's the way it should be, though. That's what everybody should do on their Fridays and Saturdays is get around a
Yeah, of course.
table
Why not?
and play games. So,
Yeah, and I remember that in those days, well, internet just started to surface, and the only information we could find was an old French website called Le Jeu de Rôle, and it was like us translating that website that was in French into Spanish to try to learn about other settings and that kind of stuff. It was very difficult to find the data about role-playing games, especially in Argentina, in Buenos Aires.
and now is there more of an abundance of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's easier, and internet is easier also.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. Jeez.
But in the 90s, we were like, it was every bit of information was like precious.
Yeah, I bet. It's hard to think of a time before the internet because it's
Yes.
become so prevalent in our life. You know,
Mhm.
like it's really hard for me. Like I'll think back to being a kid and playing with Matchbox cars and stuff. But then there's
Mhm.
like this gap and then the internet. And
Yeah, how
eh,
did we manage, right?
yeah, it's like it's funny because now we couldn't manage without it.
Yeah.
And back then we managed just fine. But now it's become such a part of our life that it's crazy.
It's really crazy. Yeah, it was a very dramatic change.
Yeah, and it went from a lot of people saying the internet was a fad and not going to stick around to it being everything, you know. And
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
so is there a particular moment in your life, I guess I would ask, where you realized you could combine your two loves of art and games into something to make a world that's as badass as Hell Knight?
Um, I think that I have always enjoyed tweaking games a lot. So since my very early childhood, I remember I started playing with my uncle chess, and I quickly find out that he was very good because he knew all the movements. So I proposed that we play that we set the figures randomly, so he wouldn't be able to have that advantage over me. So I really
Really?
like tweaking games always. And we started tweaking Advanced Dungeons and Dragons since the early moment, since the beginnings. So we played. I always played my settings and my version of the rules of the systems. I liked a lot to develop systems or try to find ways to improve or underline certain aspects I find interesting. So I think that it was a progress. The big change for me was with Neurocity. That was my first published work.
Yep.
That's my dystopian sci-fi that I launched about 5 years ago. And then I did Warplan and then Hell Knight. So it was like a progress. Everything's a work in progress, and I slowly worked towards that. Yeah.
Very
And
cool.
I think I do not have a prevalence over all my settings. I really enjoy them a lot, all of them. I'm very proud of all of them. I think they deliver a different experience, each of them.
Yeah, you know, you've got one that's dystopian, one that's a hellscape, and
Mm.
I know that Warpland is a primeval game, correct? If I remember when I read about that.
Yeah, it's the biggest mashup of genres I have because it has science fiction, it has fantasy, it has post-apocalyptic. It's a bit of everything. That I think that was the challenge when making Warpland. I want to make something that it's everything, but at the same time it has to make sense. Because what I found was that most science fantasy settings were very gonzo, and gonzo mostly doesn't make sense. It's like suddenly a spaceship lands and everything's happening because of no reason, and it works a lot with absurdity, right? It's okay.
Yes.
It's part of the genre. So I said, what is it possible to make a maybe a science fantasy setting that makes sense? And that was the reason of developing Warplan.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've got to get that. And Father Goose said he also needs to get Warpland.
I will send you the PDFs for
Oh,
sure.
that would
Yeah,
be fantastic.
I want you
Thank
to
you.
check them. Yes.
Now, one thing
And
I
heavy
know.
metal. Sorry, heavy metal is also a very big influence behind Warplan.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I've got a comic store right up the road from me that has a huge backstock of heavy metal comics.
Oh, the old
That
ones.
Yeah, it's the old ones.
Oh,
So
you need to get them.
I may have to, and then I can always write them off as reference material.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
I will do that. I have to. It's very difficult for me to find them. Yeah, but I'm a collector of the Argentine equivalent. There is like infinite amount of stuff of the Argentine equivalent that is called Scorpio.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that name. That's a
Yes.
great name.
It's very heavy stuff. Yeah, beautiful. And there was such so much freedom in comic in those days. You know, like everything goes. It was like people had a lot of the artists had a lot of freedom to make their work.
Yeah, they could. It was kind of almost. I don't want to say anything goes, but almost
I
like
would
that.
say anything goes.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
um, so not having played Warpland and oh geez, I'm drawing a blank, and Neurocity. Are they both
Mhm.
D? Are they all your games D6 based or?
Yeah, all the games share the same system. I made a very easy to learn system that works for me, and it has maybe some small amount of tweaking precise for each setting, but it's the same 2d6 roll under the stat system that allows for complications regardless of the success or failure. That's it. It's very easy, but it's at the same time. I think that for me, it's like it's an optional alternative because I know that most hardcore role players have their own favorite system. So sometimes they buy settings or stuff only to absorb that information and use them for their own stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. And um, yeah, I'm sorry, I keep drawing blanks here. I keep looking at my
Okay.
notes to prime my brain, and it's not working.
No, no.
um, now we were talking about the D6. I'm sorry, and you were talking about the hardcore role players, and I just lost it. But I was going to say I love D6 systems. That's what I was going to say.
They're very pure and very easy. Um, I think that the easier the system, the less concentration and amount of mind work you have to put into that. And so that gives a lot of space for the actual role playing,
Yeah,
both for the player and the director. So that's the way I like to play because I'm a forever GM and I like to improvise a lot. So that works for me, for my play style. But all play styles are acceptable, of course.
yeah.
Like sandbox styles. I like that a lot. I don't like to do homework.
No.
No.
that's like we said before we went live. We'll just wing it today.
Yes, yes. That's why my books are pretty much like um, a generator, a plot generator, and an idea generator. It provides a lot of ideas and a lot of influence, a lot of visual imagery. So when you finish the book, you pretty much have lots of ideas for a session.
One of the things that you did, and this is where my brain was going. What that I liked is how you have, if the D6 fall off the table,
Yeah,
that it creates a complication.
yeah, and that
And
happens a lot.
yeah, it does, because people will get excited and just
It
kind of
happens,
throw
and
the
everyone's
dice.
like, "Whoa, you dropped the dice, man!" And suddenly, yeah, it's very fun. So everyone has to be careful not to drop the dice. Yeah, I like to fade away and break the fourth wall between the player and the character. I think that allows for a lot of interesting experiences. I
Hmm.
like to do that.
I've never really thought of that, of doing that. And I would like to dig into that a little bit more, of like what you,
Yeah,
yeah, just because I've never thought of like breaking the fourth wall. That wall's always there. And you're like, oh, we've got a role play. And role playing is fun, but getting into the game as a player is
yeah.
equally
For
as
for
fun.
example, no, I was researching. Well, my next project will be called the Black Rainbow Society, and it will be based on the Hell Knight universe. And I was researching about psychic mechanics. And I was talking with, I think it was with Diogo Nogueira, maybe. But we said, okay, maybe what about if the psychic power is that you can have a small scoop at the dungeons master, at the DM's notes, so you can see the DM's notes and maybe see what the adventure or the session is about, see what is written, maybe see the name of the antagonist you will find. It's interesting.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like Diogo is such a great guy.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
he's so fun. He's coming back on again. He'll be setting a record, as a fourth appearance on the show. So
Oh, awesome.
yeah. And for some reason, my brain keeps going back to the D6 system, and I
Mhm.
don't know why. But I've always found I think it was Brian Shutter that explained it to me this way. And I know you worked with him on Hell Knight a little bit. He did a
Yeah,
table.
he made a table for a punks and bikers table for the Hell Knight.
That sounds right up his alley.
Yes. Yes.
But like, he explained to me the accessibility of a D6 system, where you can just go and grab D6 out of a Monopoly game, where
Yes.
you can't just go grab D20s and D12s out of a Monopoly game.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big advantage of the system. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
I could take Hell Knight over to anybody's house and be like, you guys want to play a game, and just bring the book.
Yeah. Well, like Catan uses it. Yeah, you need to take into account that the 2d6 system, it makes like a sort of bell curve where there's a bigger percentage to have a 7. So everything goes probability, the probability goes to the 7. So you need to consider that when developing a 2d6 system.
Gotcha. Now, yeah, that's something I haven't thought of either. The 7's going to be such a probable roll that you've got to go higher for your DRs, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah,
So,
all the statistics you need to consider that when making it. Yeah.
yeah, gee, that's a good thing to consider, because you make everything like a 7 or an 8 to succeed, then everybody's going to be like,
With the 7, it's more probable that it will happen. So that's why critical successes in Hell Knight are 8 and above, not 7.
yeah. Now, there must be tables out there that have the probabilities of
Yeah,
rolling
of course. Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
I've
I have
never
them. Yeah.
looked at them, and I probably should, where I want to design a D6 based game. So,
Yes.
yep, I got to find them.
Are you going to design a 2d6 game?
I want to, and I've actually been talking with Brian a lot about it, or I had
Mhm.
been. And then I just kind of disappeared for about 2 months, got sick, had some mental health issues and everything. And now
Mhm.
I'm kind of coming charging back into things. So I want to get back to work on my game. I don't think I'd have it ready in time for Zine Quest, but
Uh-huh. Yeah. I think that to me, it's the thing about complications that can happen regardless of success and failures. It's awesome for the narrative aspect. If they happen maybe on a social role, okay, you convince the innkeeper, but you have a complication. Maybe he does not like you. Maybe he's going to ask for a favor. I think that that's awesome. It should be included in all systems.
Yeah. Oh,
For
I
me.
agree. Because it just enhances the storytelling so
Yes,
much,
it
you know?
helps everyone. It helps everyone. It helps everyone. Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think I think I did a fairly good job with having the attack rolls include the damage, so you don't have to roll for the damage for the system. So
Yeah.
you have a
Yep.
less roll. So a combat is much quicker, and it actually makes sense because if the attack was very good, it makes more damage. Done. Uh, it's uh, it's very pure and very. At least I play with a lot of play testers that are not from the RPG hobby, and they grasp the idea very fairly quickly.
Well, yeah, it's easier than roll a d20, compare it to their armor class, then roll
Yeah,
another die, add a modifier and all this stuff to it versus
yeah,
just
that's
roll it. There's your damage. You killed him.
too much mathematics. Maybe in those days it made much more sense because people have maybe a bit more time, no, to play. We, at least for me, I play 3 hours, and in 3 hours we have a whole chapter.
Yeah, that's about the length of any games that I play in now is usually between 2.5 to 3 hours.
So we cannot waste time rolling for something that can be solved with an improvement on the system.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, you know, I always hear the legendary stories when my brother was still alive of him and his friends playing like you were saying, the time thing of they
Mhm.
would play all weekend. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, dude,
I
I can't
play.
play all weekend.
Yeah, yeah. I played from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. When I was young, nonstop. Some people fall asleep, but
I I I am guilty of that. I would be the guy that you'd be like, well, Dave's wizard is asleep over in the corner of the room.
we made coffee to keep going. Yeah, we used to do that. But now that I'm a family man, I need to have another strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, having a family definitely changes the gaming
Everything.
dynamic quite a bit.
So we need to consider that absolutely and make
Yep.
it easier for everyone.
Yeah, having two of my own, I can definitely relate. So, um, so Hell Knight is a Doom Biker RPG that is inspired basically by, like you said in the book, by badass metal covers and the spirit of the strange decade of the 80s.
Yes, and also
And
by Mandy the movie.
by what? I'm
Because
sorry.
by the movie Mandy,
Oh,
by
yeah.
from Nicolas Cage, and the movie from Panos Cosmatos. I'm a very big fan of that movie.
I have got to watch that again.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I saw the movie and I saw those demonic bikers, and I said, I need to play a game where I can be one of those demonic bikers. It's fucking awesome.
it is.
Yeah.
There was the other movie he made. There was The Color of Space, which was really
And the other
different.
one is Beyond the Black Rainbow.
And that's where the inspiration for the Black Rainbow
And
Society is coming from.
yes, yes.
Excellent. Then there was the really silly movie he made that was based loosely on like Five Nights at Freddy's that my youngest daughter fell in love with. And I can't remember the name of it for the life of me right now.
Oh, but from the same director? No.
I think it was. Maybe not, but it's where he goes into this restaurant that's like a Chuck E. Cheese and it has all these animatronics that
Uh-huh.
attack the people in the restaurant. And I can't remember the name of it for the life of
That
me.
sounds like the 80s.
It does. Father Goose just chimed in. It's Willy's Wonderland. Is the name?
Ah, yeah, yeah. No, it's not from Panos Cosmatos, but
It
yeah.
is not. Okay. But that's another interesting. Nicolas
Well,
Cage
yeah,
has.
It's funny that Nicolas Cage is also such a big inspiration for the whole setting, because even with Ghost Rider he appears. He keeps resurfing with with that specific genre. I
That's
don't know
funny.
why. It's very funny.
It is.
Even with a movie called Bad Lieutenant, the director is Herzog, and it's also very quite Hell Knight. It's about
Bad
a crooked
Lieutenant.
Bad
I'm,
Lieutenant. Yeah,
I know
it's
I've
a.
seen that.
I recommend you to watch it. It's very awesome.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it. I'm trying. Is that have Lawrence Fishburne in it?
No,
No.
no.
What am I thinking of that has? Boy, I'm
It has
getting my
Val
movies
Kilmer.
all
It has Val
confused.
Kilmer.
Hmm.
Besides Nicolas Cage, right?
Yeah, I've got to be thinking of a different movie. I don't know. I just don't know.
Write it down. You need to watch
Yeah, I've got it right here already. So I'm gonna have to watch that one. And yeah, I love the direction that like Nicolas Cage has gone with his acting from.
He has his ups and downs. Some of the stuff he did is not very good, but some of the stuff he worked on is pretty awesome.
Yeah. I'm assuming you've seen Raising Arizona.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good one. That's
Yes.
one of my
Very, very
favorite characters of his.
nice.
Um, and then of course Face Off and
Yeah.
Face Off.
I remember. I remember. I read an interview he made with Marilyn Manson, and he discussed his acting technique, and he called it shamanic nouveau, his acting technique. And he said that it was not about acting, but about assuming an archetype, a persona, and challenging the energy of that archetype.
Interesting.
Yes, I thought it was very interesting what he said, and I maybe we try to apply it when we role play and when we play. So, don't act; just try to go with that energy, with the energy of that archetype you're interpreting. Yeah, it
You
was.
watch out. I'm going to do the Nicolas Cage archetype, and I'll be standing there going, "The bees, the bees."
Yeah, it was
So it's funny you said noir just a moment ago, which got me thinking of Neurocity. I have yet to explore that much. I was looking, it looks like you ran a separate Kickstarter to do a colorblind version.
Yes, it's an updated, enhanced version of the game. I polished a lot of the system, and I added a lot of content and artwork, and I made I made a pretty a better book overall, because this was offset printing, and the original version was print on demand in Drive-Thru RPG. So this is a hardback with very nice pages, and it has a pink ribbon. It's beautiful in every way, in every sense. So it's like it has a lot of. It's a colorblind edition, but it has some pages and some dashes of pink color, mainly because it's such a nightmarish setting. It's so horrendous, everything that's going on in that setting, that once I happened to read that pink is like a soothing color, and they use it on psychiatric installations and psychiatric places for people to calm down,
Hmm.
to soothe yourself. So I said, okay, we're going to include the pink color, so at least you will have the reader will have some respite from all this terrible affair that's going on. It's a very difficult setting to play, at least for everyone involved. I had one play tester that had a panic attack.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's also very difficult. It's very demanding.
Just more mentally than anything, or?
It does not allow for anything that's not serious. You need to really um, absorb what's it's about, the vibe about it. No, it's a very
Gotcha.
dark vibe, and people are going to be psychologically torture the characters, right? So it's like there's a constant authority that's telling you what to do, and the orders are always against your common sense and against your own morality. So resisting to obey an order has a lot of consequences. So
Man,
that's really what I wanted to experience in the setting.
it's already making me want to have a panic attack the way you just described
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's very terrible. Yeah.
And it's funny because when I read the description of it this morning when I was looking it over, and I read tech noir, the first thing that popped into my head, where I know you're an 80s guy, was Club Noir from Terminator,
Yes.
where she goes to hide from him in the first movie and he finds her there. And I
Yes.
was just, that was the first thing that popped into my head, was like the
I think
flashing
that
lights.
absolutely, yeah. I think that the tech noir concept actually originated with that movie, and with the name of the club. Uh,
Interesting.
yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure that happened. It was like a noir revival mixed up with science fiction that happened in the 80s. So tech noir was mainly born, at least to my knowledge, with Terminator.
Oh, I had never heard that, but it makes perfect sense because it's taking like you just said, it's taking that noir and mashing it with technology
Mhm.
and just,
The first example we have in cinema, it was with, I think, with Alphaville from Godard. That movie is mainly about a supercomputer and a type of like detective going around the city trying to solve a mystery, while at the same time he's on a dystopian in a dystopia. Yeah.
what was the name of
So
that?
Alphaville, like the
Alphaville.
group, Alphaville.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out.
So yeah, the biggest influence behind Neurocity for sure is Alphaville.
Interesting. Yeah, I somehow that one has eluded me, and I'm gonna have to watch that now. So
It's a very black and white French movie from the main. I think it was late 60s probably. So it's very interesting visually, and the ideas it has is very.
yeah, I've got to check it out. So if it influenced a whole game, then I've definitely got to
Yeah.
check it out.
Have you seen THX 1132 from George Lucas?
Many, many, many moons ago. That, if I remember, it's like everything's just stark white.
Yeah,
And yeah,
that's also dead on Neurosity.
oh
It's an
boy.
amazing movie.
Oh boy, yeah, I can see why someone had a panic attack.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing because if you just maybe read someone told you what is the setting about, you will say, okay, it's paranoia, but paranoia is slapstick comedy, and Neurosity is like horror, tech noir, or whatever. So the experience is absolutely different, but the settings are similar themselves, not the experience they propose.
Very cool. I like the concept though. Like, I can't wait to play it. I'm going to find all of my high strung friends and we're going to play this game together and see how it goes.
Great.
Martin Ouellet just jumped in and said, look at these
Oh, hello,
beautiful
Martin.
mugs.
How are you?
And to go back a little bit, Father Goose actually said he read and played Hell Knight, because you had
Oh,
asked if he had read the whole thing. So, now are these
awesome.
worlds at all interconnected, or are they separate, freestanding worlds?
No, in my mind, Hell Knight is the only that separated, and Neurosity is closely connected with Warpland. I'm already working with projects that will close that connection and will expand that connection, and they will make sense with each other. But that's why the format size of Hell Knight is different from Neurosity and Warpland. Warpland and Neurosity have a symmetrical square size because to enforce that idea that they are connected.
Yeah.
Hellknight is a different universe.
I wasn't smart enough to pick up on that. So we've kind of hit on Warpland a couple times, saying that it was inspired by the heavy metal comics and all of that. I kind of want to dig into it more and learn a bit more about it from you, because I always love learning about settings from their creators. I just asked if the worlds were connected, which led into that. And
I would say that one important thing to consider with Warpland was that it was also heavily inspired by Hard to Be a God. That is a book from the Strugatsky brothers that were sci-fi authors, Russian sci-fi authors. And that book, it was very interesting, because it was like, in the future, the Earth society traveled to another planet that's very similar to the Earth, but they are mainly stuck on the Dark Ages, because there is a religion that prohibits knowledge and prohibits learning and prohibits academics. So I thought that concept and that idea was very interesting. So Warpland is mainly, basically that. It's a post-apocalyptic world where the previous civilization fucked it up with technology and screwed the sky and the sun and whatever. So the consequences was that a religion was born that prohibits knowledge. So it's basically obscurantism. So everyone's like a barbarian, but you still have cities that have forbidden technology, and you have these priests that will punish you if you try to read, or if you try to learn how to read, or you try to keep books, or you try to use that technology, because that technology is the reason the world is fucked up right now. So that's the premise of Warpland.
I love it. Like, I've got to play it. Father Goose and Martin both said they'll play them anytime. So I've got a play group.
Oh, I want to be a player. Eh?
All right, you're in. We'll make it work.
Hey, awesome.
So one thing we kind of talked about this morning was magic.
Yeah.
It's a big change of gears here, but it was my next talking point that I have on here, because my brain's been going.
There is a lot to say about magic. I also started playing pretty much about the same time I started playing RPGs. I'm a bit disenchanted with the brand, to be honest, on the way they're handling themselves and publishing constantly new editions and new cards. I think that it's going a bit against what collectors actually want. I don't know. It's my own take. So I like to collect vintage cards. I like to go back. I know, but I'm a very nostalgic guy. So
yeah. I am too. And I agree with what you said. Like, they've got the new Ravnica set coming out that I'm probably going to pick up a few boxes of, just because I started selling them too, which gives me mixed feelings with them. It's like,
and to go further, I think that the story arch in Magic the Gathering, going back, I don't know, with Tempest and Ursa and Gerard and all that, and even with Phyrexia.
Yep.
I really loved it. I think that the ideas were amazing. The concepts were amazing. I keep finding out new good ideas from that time. And I think it got a bit perverted, twisted. And suddenly we are playing with Transformers.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on? So,
that created such a quandary for me, because I love the Transformers. I love magic, but
I like them also.
It was just such a weird thing to throw in there.
For example, I'm also a big Fallout guy. I like the Fallout series, but I don't care about playing Fallout in Magic the Gathering. But at least for me, it's my personal take.
No, there are some really weird decisions that have been made over the
Yeah, all
past few
money-oriented,
years.
of course, but I think that it ends up hurting a bit the brand, or it's not very good for the hardcore fans.
No, and you see it everywhere that they're not happy about it. You can
Yeah, a
feel,
lot of criticisms. Yeah,
yeah,
and it's becoming a crazy expensive game.
yep,
I think that, well, at least for me, we try to play it in as casual as we can. A lot of fooling around and just having fun, not competitive oriented, because competitive ruins the game a lot, and it makes it too fast.
well, that's one of the things we were talking about, like a turn. I don't see the fun in a turn 2 or even turn 0 win,
Yeah,
because
no.
I want to play the game, I want to play it out and not have it, oh,
But
here's my 2 cards, you lose.
well, I think that casual commander is a big thing because of that reason,
Yep.
because people want to go back to playing in that play style where things take more time and everyone's just like having fun with the cards. Maybe some cards you only included because you like the art, because it's
Yeah.
rare. It has a very quirky mechanic that maybe it does not make you win, but it creates very fun, original moments. And I like that about the game. It's such a very well designed game. It's really awesome.
Yeah. And now it's going this funky direction that
Hmm.
I like. Oh, Martin said Fallout and Magic is weird, and he'd rather play the Fallout board game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Father Goose said he's also not happy with the direction that Magic has gone. He says he still plays, but hasn't bought new cards in a very long time.
Yeah, I decided not to buy new cards also for that specific reason. Yeah, like an ideal, no? Try to respect your values.
Yeah. It's like, I don't ever want to see another Ella Damry come out. Like where it's on the reserve list. Like, I don't want to see them. I'm afraid they're going to break that list, at
I'm
some
not
point.
following it, to be honest, because I hate it so much that I don't follow it. But I'm part of a big community group from Argentina that everyone's playing it, and we get together at least once a month.
That's cool. I wish, like, we have that here at some of the game stores, and I'm just a hermit and don't go out that much. But
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, because also it's a game that asks the online experience is very different.
Hmm.
With, well, I think that with RPGs happens the same happens. Uh, if you can play in person, it's much better.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I haven't even touched like Arena or playing online through like,
Me neither. Me neither.
I'm, I like, get the thought of buying a virtual pack of cards just, it boggles my mind. It's like, they're not yours. Like, I want a tangible pack of cards where I can be flipping through it and be like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, I found my Vampire Nighthawk, which is my favorite card art of all time.
Ah,
I love that
awesome.
card,
Yeah.
just with the
Well,
moon behind him.
the same thing happens with, at least for me, with books. I mean, I own a lot of PDFs, but I don't really care about PDFs. I want the real book. I need to touch the book. The physicality of it, it's a different ball game.
Yeah, the smell of the pages, the feel of the
Absolutely.
cover. And I'm so glad you said absolutely when I said the smell of the pages, because I've said to people before, I love the smell of books. And they've looked at me
No,
like and they look at me like I'm some weirdo.
no, I totally understand it. It's like an object of desire. Yeah.
Yeah, Martin said that the arena is another form of NFT, and I don't understand. I can't wrap my
No.
head around that whole thing at all. The
Yeah, yeah.
NFTs. I get it, but I don't get it, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah, it's well. I think that I agree with Martin. Yeah, of course. It's a virtual object of desire
Ooh,
that has a value, and that value increases with its demand. But yeah,
Martin just
it's more
asked.
like in the symbolic world.
Yeah. And speaking of card games, Martin just asked if you could talk about your card game.
About Sigil, yeah. Well, Sigil is based on the Hell Knight universe, and you play warlocks fighting each other to find the lost pages of an ancient grimoire that gives you power over the demons from hell. So it's a game that has a lot of inspiration behind Magic the Gathering, but a lot of differences as well. You have a shared deck. The deck is shared from all the players,
Hmm.
and you also have a shared graveyard called the Limbo, and it has a lot of it has a component in each spell to play in order to play spells besides having to pay the energy cost like the mana cost.
Yep.
The player also needs to perform a certain ritual aspect live. So for example, if they are casting a spell that has to do with dreams, he actually has to tell you what was his most important dream, for example, in life.
Very
uh,
cool.
so it's yeah, it creates a lot of strange experiences because if you play with strangers, you actually get to know those strangers because he will start to reveal things about himself that may actually be a bit challenging. So it also has that thing that okay, you don't want to tell what was your last dream, then don't cast that spell. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Well, do something else. And you also have a chance to turn, because the game does not have lands, the mechanic of lands. You need to turn the spells into the equivalent of land. That's what a sigil means. The sigil is the one that creates the energy. So all the spells can be created into a energy resource to create more spells. So
Um,
it has a lot of interesting mechanics. The game works wonderfully. I have been developing on the last 2 years, and it's pretty much a staple in my game group. Yeah,
man, I'm going to have to
it's
go
a
on a
lot.
shopping spree on your website.
That would be awesome. Yeah, now it will be. I mean, you can buy it directly from me, but it will be available in Drive-Thru RPG eventually, and also on Exalted Funeral.
Very cool. Like, I
Yeah.
like the sound of that. Like, that sounds like a super cool game. So,
It's awesome, yeah. It's awesome, and it's warlocks on the 80s, no? In the city, it's like an urban fantasy setting.
very neat.
Yeah, and it has a lot of hints to Hell Knight. So many, for example, you will have slayers that are the demon riders from Hell Knight, and that sort of characters that appear in Hell, they will actually show up.
Very cool. You've got
Yeah.
me sold on it. I'm in.
Yeah. We have the core game is 66 cards that are good for a two-player game. And with expansion, it goes to 112, and you can play with up to 5 players.
Nice. That's awesome. So,
Easy, I think it's very easy. Yeah,
and I really like the idea of being
very easy,
able.
very simple, easy to learn. I don't like complications very much.
No,
No,
nope, I'm
so
with you. I don't
I know that learning new stuff it's a heavy toll on everyone because everyone is very tired with how the world is going on.
Yep.
Uh, so I think that when I develop a product, it has to work. What would work for me? If it works for me, I try to. I think that it might work for somebody else. So I don't want to give you too complicated stuff. And a big aspect of developing anything, of designing everything, is making things minimal and simple.
I agree. Like, the simpler, the better. It's,
Yes,
yep.
yes.
Um,
Sometimes some mechanics are like, oh, this mechanic will be super awesome. but it will take me like 2 pages to explain it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to use it.
And as you've already seen, my memory is not that good of God, I've blanked out what 3 times in our conversation today. So
Well, we are all the same. We are all dealing with brain fog.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, there I go again. I've got to rewind because I was going to say something and I just lost it again. Yeah, my brain is not working today.
No
It was
worry.
to do. Oh,
I'm going
I
to
love the
smoke a bit,
concept.
so I go in the same page with you.
I love the concept of being able to bring Sigil to a game store, grab 4 random strangers and play it and get to know each other.
Hmm.
It's a great way of like breaking
If they
the
are
ice.
familiar with Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering, they will learn how to play it in 10 minutes.
Very cool. But
And it's a very different game. It's a substantially different game.
yeah.
I made a point of making it different. So
Father Goose is telling me not to be so hard on myself and to just roll with it. I get mad when I forget
don't
things.
worry about it.
Yeah, I just get frustrated when I forget when I'm going to ask something because it's like,
Well, I think that's the risk of, as we said, improvising and winging it.
yeah.
You need to just be comfortable with those blank moments, and that's okay. That they will also happen when you are on an RPG session. As I said, I'm an improv GM, and sometimes it gets a bit weird when there are these silences, but you just have to roll with it and keep going, and it ends up going smoothly, and it ain't so bad. It flows. Let it flow. Go with the flow.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that because when I first started doing interviews, I had to have every question typed out and I would go through them in order. And I go back and laugh at those interviews because I sounded so robotic and
very schematic.
yeah, like you could bring up something really cool or I'd have missed Martin asking about Sigil and I would have completely missed it just because of my questions. I'd have been like, so what was your favorite thing about Hell Knight? And you'd tell me something and I'd hear something really cool. What made you design the cover the way you did? And I'd just hammer through my questions. And now I've gotten so I think I just have conversations with people. I have talking points that I have of things that I want to cover.
Yeah, of course.
And
of course, you
then
need to have some notes. I also have some notes for sure.
yeah,
Some visual aid.
if I tried to completely wing it, I'd be completely lost. Like I have to write out my intros because I just can't remember them. So it's funny. But I love doing this and I've had so much fun so far talking to you. So
yeah, I'm having fun also. Yeah, awesome. I think that also thinking out loud, no brainstorming. Sometimes you get a lot of help when playing on when improvising. A lot of help from music. I'm a big fan of using playlists for my sessions or for my games or proposing new playlists for my settings. We launched several album tapes for Warplan and for Neurocity and for Hell Knight. They are physical tapes.
oh wow.
Yeah, they were published by Heimat der Katastrophe. I'm very sure I did not pronounce that correctly, but it's a Italian label that focuses on dungeon synth music.
Yes, I've heard some of his stuff. And
They have a very awesome catalog.
yeah, he worked on another project that I backed, or they worked on another project that I backed.
Mordborg launched a cassette tape with them. Yeah.
Sky of the Crimson Flame. That's what I'm thinking of that Thorin Thompson did.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep, I can't wait for that one to come out. I
Looks
backed
very
with the
awesome.
mask, so
yeah, the cover art is super cool, and I think that the premise looks very interesting.
yeah.
About maybe like vampires, no? A society of vampires, but the place is like post-apocalyptic or fantasy. It's very different.
Yeah. And I like the mask that I got coming
Yeah.
with it.
And they wear masks, yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to wear that to start an interview, like once before someone comes on Zoom and just be sitting there staring at the screen. So what else do you like to play for RPGs?
I'm for RPGs. I am at the moment all my time and energy are focused on playing my stuff. So I buy a lot of RPGs and I read a lot of different RPGs. I like them. I love them a lot, but I have a hard time finding GMs or directors to actually play them. So to for me, it's a lot to because we get together every Friday mainly, and to to GM several settings and to learn the system and all is like too much. I have a 15-month old baby daughter,
Yep.
and it's like I need to consider my energy and effort because I'm really working a lot, David. I have never worked so much in my life.
Yeah. Being a parent is like having two jobs.
It's like having two jobs,
Yeah.
and both of those jobs are 24/7 for me.
Yep.
It's like
It never
I
changes, my friend. Trust me. I have a 20-year-old and a 13-year-old,
yeah.
and it never
I, I
changes.
I love it. I love it. I'm having so much fun, but it has actually taken me to that place where I need to consider my energy,
Yeah.
to be good. Because if you do not have the energy, you cannot create. Really, if you are really tired, it's impossible. Not difficult. It's impossible.
Yeah. Maybe that's been my problem. I've just been so worn out lately that like
Yeah,
I was
everyone's very strong. Yeah,
I was talking with Brian the other day, and I said to him that it's like my head right now is a pile of logs soaked with gasoline that
uh-huh.
needs a spark thrown on it to get it to reignite, because I have
Everyone is pretty much on that symphony in that yeah, in
like
that
I
vibe.
cannot come up with anything lately, and it's just like my brain just goes when I try to think of something.
Right. To me, it happens that I come up with lots of ideas, but I know that turning those ideas into reality is like wow, it's like climbing a mountain. So if I want to be an independent author, I need to really try to consider those aspects into my life, into my daily life. Having space for relaxation in a professional way, just knowing that I have to do what I can do, not going crazy. Because sometimes you go crazy and it ends up being worse if you try to tackle too much stuff at the same time.
This guy is the king of doing that. I have burned myself out so many times trying to. I'll be like, I want to write this, I want to design this, I'm going to make
Yeah.
this and start this. And then they all just collapse under each other's weight. And it's,
Yeah, well, we need to be careful when dealing with compromises, no? Because sometimes it's like you have more compromises than you will be able to perform. So we need to always consider that. And sometimes people try to ask something from you, and you try to be like a good guy with them, but it's very difficult.
yeah.
Very difficult.
I'm not good at saying no when people
You need
ask
to
for
be
favors.
good at saying no.
Yeah,
That's what I want.
I've definitely
I
got
was
to
trying
get
to
better at it, because I
to
love helping
yourself,
people.
to yourself, and to others
Yeah.
because it's healthy.
Yeah. Well, it's like if I can't say no, how can I expect to teach my children the concept of the word like no, it's that's how it works.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and maybe risking that by saying no, someone might not like it and be okay with that.
yeah.
It isn't such a big deal.
No, I think I always worry that it's going to be a bigger deal than it actually turns out to be.
Yeah, of
So
course.
I'm a worrywart. So oh, well, all right, my friend. I've kept you on here for about an hour, and it's nighttime there, right?
No, it's 3:30 p.m.
Oh, for some reason, I was thinking you were way ahead of us, or way ahead of me time-wise.
No, we are not. We are on the same, more or less on the same.
Interesting. Yeah. That's funny. Father Goose says, I'll help you learn to say no. Try it now. Hey, Dave, loan me $50,000. No. Oh, so
When money is involved, it's easier to say no.
it's always easy to say no when it involves money. Yeah, I haven't been playing much of anything lately.
You have not been playing any RPGs?
No.
Well, that's a
I've
problem.
been living in a hole, and I think that's part of my problem. Like I had said at the beginning, I have massive depression issues with winter. And the second the
It must
clocks,
be tough.
yeah,
Over there,
the
you have a
second the
pile of
clocks
snow,
go
but
back here and the snow comes, I just shut right off. And I kind of go on rants about,
hibernation. You go in hibernation.
yeah, I really do. And I go into really heavy rants about how much I hate winter. And yet I'm still here. I probably will never leave this state. It was where I was born. One of my children are here. My whole family's here. So I'll probably never leave, but I hate winter. I would love to come, like, stay in your spare bedroom for the winter.
Come over. If you're anytime in Argentina, make sure to ring me.
I will do so.
But yeah, maybe you should try to channel those winter dark vibes to create something.
I love horror. So, I mean, that's what The Shining's all about, is the
Yes.
isolation of winter. So,
Yes. Yes. That's yeah, absolutely. It's amazing.
oh, I hate winter. I'll say it one more time. Like if I turn off the blur behind me and I put up my window, all you can see is snow. And it's like, it's just so bleak and gross and ugh. So what I've got to do is hire an artist to paint tropical scenes on all my windows. So that every time I look at my windows, I just see the tropics.
Let me make a quick. This is my.
Oh, you lucky, lucky man. I can't detach my camera, or I would take you and show you the outside, and you would say,
I like plants very much. I like nature very much.
yeah.
I
Oh,
like animals. Yeah.
You should see my office at work. We've got plants. It's like I'm surrounded by plants. It's
plants
great.
are the best.
Yeah. Yep. And then people give me shit because I talk to my plant, and they know they like music. That's been proven.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they give you back so much.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. They're kind of like pets, but you don't have to clean up after them. That's a nice thing with plants. Yeah, Father Goose says I should write something truly bleak and depressing. Pour your winter emotions into an adventure of despair and self-loathing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's maybe that is what art is about, no?
It is. Channel whatever you're feeling.
Yeah, that's the way to use it.
I'm just trying to swim against the current is my problem.
Art saves lives.
Yep. It's funny, saying self-loathing made me think of one of my questions that I had for you earlier. And
Mhm.
I've got to rewind in my head a little bit. You had said that you weren't fond of, oh, what was it? What was it?
I'm not fond of
I can't remember it from earlier. I'm thinking, and it made me think of the back of Hell Knight where you had Hunter
of
S. Thompson.
complicated systems.
It wasn't
Complicated.
complicated systems. No, I'm trying to, oh boy. Because it made me think of the Hunter S. Thompson quote that you have in the back of Hell Knight.
Yeah, that's
And
the
I was going to
Godfather.
say whatever it was I was going to bring up, I was going to say I found it interesting that you liked Hunter S. Thompson. That
I love him. Yeah,
yeah,
love him. I actually started studying journalism mainly because of him, but I quit when I found out that most journalists are assholes.
Did you ever read anything by like Jack Kerouac or anyone else from the era?
Yeah,
Or like On the Road is one of my favorite books of all time.
yeah. So for each of my works, I found that it's very useful to have like a godfather author figure that you can use to give you like a background for everything, anything you are doing. So as I said, for Warplan was Strugatsky, and for Neurocity was George Orwell in 1984. And for Hell Knight, it definitely was Hunter Thompson and maybe also Nicolas Cage. Yeah,
Nice.
but Hunter Thompson is, and also because as I said, the next project is going to be a continuity of Hell Knight called the Black Rainbow Society. And for that project, the Godfather is going to be William Burroughs, that is also a beatnik author and
Nice.
very closely related to Kerouac and Hunter Thompson and all those guys.
Who was it that wrote The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test? Did you ever read that?
Yeah, I have heard about it. I have not read it, but it was definitely one of those guys. Yeah,
Yeah, it was one of the
that era,
beatnik authors.
70s,
Yeah.
70s for sure.
Now I thought of what it was. You had said that you
Yeah.
didn't always like Gonzo. And then I was going to say, I found it funny that that you said that, and then you've got Hunter S. Thompson in the back of the book.
Yeah, I mean, I love Gonzo when there is an ironic or sarcastic aspect. So it's basically saying something very important about our society.
Right.
So when that happens, it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I knew the difference. I was just kind of being a wise guy saying it, and it just happened to pop back into my head.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
I'm going to be using also something else about. I think that's very interesting about William Burroughs. That is going. I'm going to be using the same cut up techniques to write, and so the book will be written with quotes because all the characters are mainly guys that took experimental drug that awakens the third eye. So all of them have different psychic powers. The whole book is going to be like a brainstorm of visuals and premonitions and things that maybe it's a ghost, maybe it's another person, maybe it's the future, maybe it's the past. So it's going to be a very chaotic visual work that is going to be use a lot of cut up and collage.
nice. I love it.
I'm going to do everything. It's the first work that I'm going to do everything in it. So the graphically maybe the written aspect not much because it's a cut up. I'm going to be use a whole community of authors that are going to participate
That's awesome.
consciously or unconsciously.
Nice.
Willingly or unwillingly. But no, I think that willingly. I actually feel that when you go in that vibe and start challenging, okay, I want to say this, those authors keep jumping up and say, I want
Yep.
to say something, I want to participate. And it's really, I'm really thrilled about this upcoming project.
I'm already
because
excited
it's
for it.
like really, really heavy, you know? It's like, wow. You can read 3 pages and you will have enough for the whole day.
I like it. I'm in. I'll be there day one. So Martin says gonzo journalism and gonzo fiction are very different beasts. And they are
Huh?
indeed. They
They
are.
are, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like you said, the gonzo journalism is more of like a social commentary where gonzo fiction's just wah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would consider Hellnight a gonzo fiction, but at the same time, I think that there is some social commentary on Hellnight, even if it is about just senseless violence. There is a social commentary on that, on how we approach violence and how we used to approach violence, because 80s violence is not the same as 20s violence.
No.
Everything changed.
Yeah, like 80s
It's,
violence was over the top and sensational.
and yeah.
And I feel like now everything has to be gritty and real, and it's like
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I miss the
I think
over the
that talking
top.
about that, talking about this, to me, it will demand like an essay
Yeah.
because there's so many things involved.
Yep.
Because there is a horror. Horror nowadays is also a different breed. Horror itself is a
Yeah.
different thing. It's so different. I watch 80s movie like pretty much every day, and from time to time I say, okay, let's see what's going on, and it's difficult. But from time to time, some very cool things surface. Like for example, when we're talking about Mandy, and there is a new Argentine movie that came out that is very good. Can't remember the name, but it came out this year. So there are some horror exponents, but mainstream horror is uh, totally different.
Yeah,
It's like
like
some things are totally acceptable and some other things aren't.
yeah.
And just it sounds everything is totally arbitrary. You know, it's like
Yep. um like I don't think like when I was a kid, the original Halloween scared the crap out of me. And
yeah.
now a kid will watch it and be like, dude, this isn't a horror movie. And it's like, what are you talking about? This is
Yeah, but mainly also because their attention span are a bit maybe more limited and they used to action happening more quickly, so they cannot deal with the tension. And
yeah, it could
Halloween is
be.
all tension. And it's like ton ton and the music and ton ton and maybe
Yeah.
nothing's going on, but it's all dark and kids are used to TikTok videos.
That's true. 30 seconds is all it requires. And
Impossible.
yeah, make a 30-second movie and win an Oscar now. It's like,
Yeah, it's a different way of conceiving the
yeah,
genre.
I actually avoid TikTok for that reason.
Yeah, I don't use it neither.
No, I probably should
Too
to
much
kind of,
social media, man. It's like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. TikTok. What the fuck am I doing? It's like too much.
yeah, I can't keep up even between like,
Thank you. Yeah. It's an effort for me to keep up with what I'm using as social media already.
I suck at keeping
I
up.
mean, I like it. I think that if you use it consciously, both Instagram and Facebook can give you a lot, both in terms of making new friends and in terms of information and finding out about stuff that is amazing and incredible. But you need to be careful when using it. I mean, use the filters. Don't add as a friend somebody you don't care about. Um, Trying to be certain that the data that is coming to you is what you want from them.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
That's the
Yeah.
key.
Yeah, it really is. Or else
If
you just
not, it
get,
becomes toxic. It becomes like, I hate this app. It's not that you hate the app, it's that you are not using it because we have not been taught how to use it.
yeah.
I think that we should actually be taught how to use social media in schools.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And then you're going to get people that use it more responsibly if you do, rather than just people going on there and spouting. So Father Goose says every generation has elements to which they are especially sensitive and elements to which they are numb. Horror is a good example of generational differences in this regard. And that is very true.
Of course, absolutely.
Yep.
But
And
even going back to previous generation is always super rewarding. I mean, I'm talking one small example. Neurocity. I'm talking about an author that wrote in 1940s, and it actually blew my mind. So I think that it's very important that we need to consider that always,
yep.
because it keeps recycling. Some of the subjects keep happening because they are universal to mankind.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I could go on about that stuff for hours and everything repeating itself and all that. That would be my essay. How you were. Oh, well, my friend, I should probably let you go and see your family. And I have had so much fun talking to you today.
I had lots of fun also.
When you launch Black Rainbow
Thank you for the
Society,
space.
my pleasure. But when you launch Black Rainbow Society, I'd love to have you back on to pitch it and promote it. Yeah.
I need to finish the final tweakings on Sigil, but mainly about at the same time I will do the pre-launch for Black Rainbow Society and everything. We are actually play testing it every Friday, and it's mental. It's super crazy. The Scanners movie is also a big influence for Black Rainbow. I love
Nice.
Scanners. I love Scanners very much.
Yeah, I might have to rustle up Martin and Father Goose and run some Hell Night. I haven't GM'd in forever, so that's
Yeah.
another whole story that I could tell you about. It would take about an hour to tell, but
We
I'll
can
have
do it on the next podcast.
yeah, that works for me. All right, my friend. Well, folks out there, have a great day. Whoa, I'm waving the wrong way.
Thank you guys for joining.
Thanks for coming